All right, guys. Hey, I hope that you had a great time there for a few moments. We got a few comments. I was going to say four comments, and there were four comments. People saying good morning. Hey, I'd love for you guys to write in there. What's one thing you want to accomplish in second quarter 2021? The next time I stand in front of you, it will be April, which means first quarter will be over, which is unbelievable if you think about it. I mean, time just flies. I can't believe it. But just a focus there for you to be thinking about one thing that you want to accomplish. And I've got a few different things today that I want to talk about. I hope you've got a pen and a paper ready. I love that. I'm already starting to see some stuff for listings. That's great. But yeah, I've got a few different things that have been on my mind this week as I've been meeting with agents. And I know some of you are like, Jeremy, maybe one of your goals for second quarter should be to get a new iPad, so these weird lines are not running across my face. I can't see them that great because I always do the minimized version, so I just see a million people, so it looks normal to me. But you know what? I'm gonna try to hawk this iPad off to my brother Jeff, and I'll get a new one. So, all right, guys. Okay. So as I've been spending time with agents lately and stuff, there's a few topics that I really believe are key that I want to share with you that I hope that you'll consider adding to your business. They're all really quick, but I really want to engage with them, and I believe they're critical for what you're doing. So if you have a pen and a paper, I'd be writing these things down. These are all literally coming from experiences working with agents in our current market conditions. I'm talking from the making of phone calls to dealing with low appraisals right now to just trying to set appointments, whatever it might be. And we'll go through them pretty quickly here. But first and foremost comes from a place of timing, in my opinion. And that is the ability to sort of review where you are in your business. And this is the thing that I love talking about. You've heard me talk about it before, and you'll hear me talk about it forever, is the idea of what is the current state of your business? Ask yourself that question. It doesn't matter. Look, everyone on this call has different key performance indicators and things that they're after, whether it be a person that works in title, whether it is mortgage, whether it's real estate management, or real estate sales, whatever that might be. You've got these areas in your life and things and prospects that you're trying to connect with. But just take a listen to this really quickly. If I were to say to someone, how's your business? Very often people will come to me and they will say, well, my business is great. I've had 4 closings. In fact, I just met with an agent yesterday. I said, I was worried about it. I said, how are you doing? And it said, oh, good. I just had 2 closings, basically. And he was very upbeat. And I said, cool, what's in the works right now? Nothing. And our meeting went from high energy to a lot of worry all of a sudden, where this person, it's like if they finally realized at that moment, holy cow, I have nothing going on right now. And so what I'm here to do right now is for us to all kind of have that light bulb flash up above our head and go, okay, this is very important for me to understand. This is the current state of my business. This is where my business sits right now. And the reason I love it, guys, is because it's very clear in front of you, and then you can know exactly what your next steps are. So if I'm selling real estate full time, there's a few things that I'm focusing on to know what is the current state of my business. I liken this a bit to like the president of the United States standing up and giving the State of the Union address, right? They're going to talk about immigration. They're going to talk about healthcare, defense, all of those topics, the economy. And that's sort of like if you had to give a delivery of the state of your business address, what would be your focus? And one of the things that I like to focus on with this right now, if you have your pen and paper, it's the following. Just answering just a few questions. How many active buyers do you have? And how many active listings do you have? So an active buyer for me is someone that you believe will be under contract in the next 30-ish days. The market's shifted so much, really, even since the last time I talked about this, that it's kind of interesting to think about how that dynamic works. But I'm being a little more picky about what I'd consider an active buyer right now. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but when you say I only work with highly qualified buyer who have been pre-approved and signed a buyer broker agreement, that means something different today than it meant even a year ago, which is bizarre, right? Because of our current market conditions. So think about that for a moment. How many active buyers do you currently have? And then active sellers, listings that you have on the market. Not someone you're signing later this afternoon or tomorrow, but like right now, this morning. And not someone you put under contract yesterday, right? How many active sellers do you have? Second, how many buyers do you have under contract? And how many sellers do you currently have under contract? Right, that's the current state of your business. These are people and dollars that are likely heading your way. So you've got active buyers and sellers first, second, under contract buyers and sellers. And then third, which may be the greatest tell of all of how an agent is spending their time, is how many appointments do you have set with buyers? And how many future appointments do you have set with sellers? These are with people you have never met with before, or at least not in this quarter, right? New buyers, new sellers that you're going to have a first-time appointment with. Pretty good list, and that's really all it is for me, are those three items to be able to show to you what is the current state of your business. This is it, folks. And this is actually very telling for you to be able to say, this is exactly where you need to focus your attention. If you're heavy on active and light on under contract, well, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, I have got to figure out how to convert all of these active buyers and sellers to becoming under contract, right? It's unlikely there's a lot of people with tons of active sellers. But who knows? But look, that's pretty easy right now. But what's the game plan for getting everything converted to under contract? Let's say you don't have a ton of active, but you have a lot of under contracts right now. What should you be spending your time doing? Well, clearly it's time to get some of these active people, or excuse me, just converting. You can see the way it goes. If you have a lot of actives, right, you need to convert them to under contracts. If you have a lot of under contracts working, you've got to figure out, okay, you're probably light on the appointments, future appointments. And you need to start converting and getting more people into the active category. So really interesting, but you can see it spelled out right in front of you, the exact current state of your business. If you're driving or something right now, just kind of be making a mental note. You're talking about active, under contract, and appointments. That's the big focus right now. Agents, if you're looking at this list and you're not excited with what you're seeing in front of your face, basically just, you've got three choices. Continue doing exactly what you're doing. Number two, allow the market to choose for you what you're going to be doing. And third, change your sales behaviors and activities. And I'm telling you, every conversation I'm having with people right now, we have either people that are just killing it, having career numbers, and then we have people who were doing well that are also starting to struggle a little bit. Hence the conversation I had with the agent yesterday, which has inspired this discussion, which is to have a wake-up call and recognize you might need to begin focusing on some other activities. You might need to create some different sales behaviors in order to convert right now. So identify what those are and make it happen. If you want to have a conversation about it, just to kind of speak openly and see, maybe you need someone to give you some other ideas of what you could be doing. I'd be more than happy to speak with you. In fact, I'll give you my cell phone right now. It's 801-859-6134. Again, 801-859-6134. I'd love to talk to any of you that want to just think through that or brainstorm. Also, I see on the phone, we've got Rick Bentley, Rob Oakey, Ruby Batia. Like, you can chat with any of the managers. I need to flip the page. I'm sure we've got some California managers on here as well, but I'm happy to talk to anyone, anywhere. So please, if you want to brainstorm some of that, reach out. Okay. Second thing that thanks, Rob. Second thing that I want to talk to you about today. So first was just what's the current state of your business. Couple final things are just some skill set issues and ways to convert more effectively on the phone and in person. This one is something I could spend a whole hour talking about. We just don't have time, but I can't emphasize enough, when you are on the phone and you're communicating with people, when you're face to face and you're communicating with people, whatever it may be, in any situation, if you can write this down, repeat, affirm, empathize, and ask questions, your conversations will be so much more smooth. You'll have so much more energy. You'll have so much more appreciation from your clients. They're going to feel like you're listening to them. You get them. They're going to feel the energy and enthusiasm from you. And I promise you, your calls will go better. Promise, promise, promise. So what does it mean and look like to repeat, affirm, empathize, and ask a question? It's as simple as this. Let's say somebody's on the phone with you and they say, you know what? I don't want to sell my house right now using a real estate agent. That's a good example. I don't want to use a realtor. Your repeat, affirm, empathize would sound like this. Repeat. Oh, you don't want to use a real estate agent. Okay, you just repeated, right? Affirm. That's great. Empathize. This will drive some of you crazy when I say this. You know what? If I were you, I wouldn't want to use a real estate agent either. And ask a question. That question should start with something like, share with me, or help me understand, or may I ask? Okay, share with me, help me understand. May I ask? Hey, may I ask, what is most important to you about getting your home sold right now? Hey, share with me, what's your number one concern about working with a real estate agent? Hey, help me understand. Why wouldn't you want to involve a professional in this transaction? Now think about how that sounds. Look, because here's what I believe happens most of the time. I want to sell my home, but I do not want to use an agent. You don't want to use an agent? I could get you way more money for your house. It's proven. There are stats on FSBOs. I'm just using examples, but what I hear so often is just jump the gun. And it's one of two things. It's either super aggressive and something that's going to cause an argument with somebody. That's one end of the spectrum I hear. The other end of the spectrum I hear is, I don't want to use an agent. Okay, well, let me know if I can be of any help in the future. Have a good day. One of those two things is mostly what I hear. Okay. And I'm telling you, I know this, guys. I know it because I've lived it. I've made these calls. I know how intimidating it can be. My challenge to you today in anything and everything you're doing is get committed to the idea of repeating, affirming, empathizing, and of course, asking a great question. So if someone says to you again, well, I do want to sell my house, but I don't feel like I want to use an agent right now. Oh, you don't want to use an agent? Well, that's fantastic. If I were in your shoes, I'd feel the exact same way. Hey, let me ask you, what's most important about getting your home sold? Right? That's an interesting approach because you're stopping, you're doing a bit of you're listening to them, you're affirming. Trust me, when you as an agent tell someone you feel the same way as them, you're getting their attention for a moment. And then you ask a question, well, cool, you don't want to use an agent? Pattern interruption. What's most important about selling your home right now? And what do we know creates the most value when you're on a phone call with people? Understanding their motivation, needs, and wants. Pattern interrupt that sucker and talk about needs and wants with them, right? And look, some of you might be thinking right now, and I only know this because people have asked in the past, well, that seems very insincere. You wouldn't use an agent. You would, Jeremy, you're an agent. So you're lying if you say, if I were you, I'd feel the same way. I'm not lying. I genuinely agree with that statement, that if I were them and I didn't understand the value of an agent and I didn't know what that could create, because they clearly don't, I'd probably feel the same way too. It's totally fine for me to say that. And I believe it. I believe that they don't understand and see the value, and therefore it becomes my job to create that value. It becomes my job to have that discussion. Now, what do I know about communication? What do I understand about my training and sales? Is that for me to get into a debate with them at that moment is not going to create, is unlikely to create any great value and opportunity for us. In fact, I believe so strongly that they should be working with me and I need to create value, that it's essential for me to have a pattern interruption at that moment to try to understand their needs and wants and to see if there's a possibility for us to do some business together. And that's why I might pattern interrupt and start focusing on their needs and their wants so that we can have a reasonable conversation. And then maybe you interrupt that later in the conversation and you ask a great question like, hey, from what I can tell, it sounds to me like there's a certain number you want to walk away with when you sell this home. Is that correct? Yes. Well, that's phenomenal. Great question would be this, guys. As long as you walk away with the number that you want, does it really matter if it's me or you that gets the home sold? It's a great question. And the answer is likely no, it doesn't matter. And then that's when you might say something like, that's the very reason you and I should get together, just to talk about the possibilities of doing business. I understand it may not work on your end. And I also know it might not work on my end. But I think it's essential for us to sit down for 15 minutes and chat about the possibilities of doing business together. When you can see, in my opinion, how smooth that type of conversation can go if you're having the right discussion. That's not a COVID cough, I promise. It is just a clearing of the throat, guys. So just be thoughtful of the repeat, affirm, empathize. I know I talked about that one thing, but just think about this. What if you said to someone, what do you want for lunch? I want McDonald's. Oh, you want McDonald's for lunch? That's great. If I were you, I'd want McDonald's too. Share with me. What do you love about frozen non-beef? All right. See, you can handle this in any way you want. All right. Just be thinking about repeat, affirm, empathize, ask a question. It is so important. I hope that you write that down and you're thinking about it. It's essential, and allow it to become part of the way that you're communicating with others. All right. I know our time is running a little bit short here. Frozen non-beef. Thank you, Mike. Let's do one last thing that I'm seeing that I just feel totally compelled to talk to you guys about today. And I really want to do it. I'll keep it very brief. But to me, this is an essential skill for you as a professional. And it is the ability to future pace. Future pace what's going to happen in the market. Future pace what's going to happen in a transaction. Future pace out the emotions from a buyer or a seller or the other agent. You have got to be aware and be thinking about how might this person react to that and be ahead of the game on this. It is so important for you to be able to do this, and it will change your business. It kind of goes and falls into the category of making sure that you under promise and over deliver. I'm sure you've all heard that phrase, right? What's so common is that we over promise and under deliver, or under communicate and over screw up. I just made that up right here. I don't know if it's any good. I'm going to see if I can get quoted on that somewhere, but I'm telling you guys, if you're over promising, it would be over promising and over screwing up. Excuse me. See, I messed up my own quote there. Dang it. But guys, it is so important for you to be capable of future pacing. And I've worked with some agents and we've talked about this. If you're doing it right, it will make life easier when a low appraisal comes in, when a low offer shows up, when inspection items come in that are a lot, right? Give you an example right now. What is the expectation you're setting for your clients about inspection reports? What are the expectations that you're setting for your clients about appraisals? What are the expectations that you're setting for your clients about price reductions? Are there price reductions in this market? Yes, 100% there are. All right, so let's think about this for a moment and figure out what are some of the most challenging moments of any transaction? And could you make them a little bit easier if you set the expectation right? The answer is yes. I was working with an agent recently where we were looking at appraisal issues. And if you're on this call right now, I've talked to many agents about this lately. So if anyone's feeling like I'm picking on them, I promise I'm not. But basically a listing was taken and it was like, that's awesome. Let's get very clear about one thing. This home will never, ever appraise for that amount. Are we clear? Yes, I'm clear. It is essential for you to go back to this seller and make sure you tell them, like, overdo it, saying, I just want you guys to know that I'm almost certain your home will not appraise for this number. So, and they're getting an astronomical amount of money for a stupid, crappy little property. I mean, it's crazy what they're getting for this, but it's my opinion. I'm seeing Rob pop up on the screen, so I'm worried I'm saying something I shouldn't. I don't know. You can't talk, Rob, sorry. But I'm just saying that it's my opinion that I don't believe this home is going to appraise for $30,000 above the list price, and that our buyer may not be capable to buy. And so I'm setting an expectation and telling the agent to set this expectation. Well, guess what happened? Did the appraisal come in good? No. Did the agent set the right expectation? No. Is the seller getting the most amazing amount of money for the cruddiest property in the world? Yes. But guess what? They're thinking about backing out of the transaction because they think they can get another $8,000 or $10,000. Agents, it is essential for you to communicate properly with your clients, and it is essential for you to be able to future pace with them what some of the struggles. No, I was not talking about you. It is essential for you to communicate with them the struggles that they may experience during a transaction. Again, showing of the house, right? Here's a couple that I do every time. Hey, I'm going to put this key box on your home. I promise to you, I will always communicate with you when I've set an appointment. Guess what, though? Some agents are going to just show up and they're going to pretend like they have an appointment, or they're going to say they tried to set an appointment. I'm telling you right now, I will never allow that to happen. And so just know that's not the case if somebody shows up to your home and says that. Kind of interesting, because guess what happens when someone does show up then, which is inevitable? You don't look bad, right? Because what happens when an agent does show up? You look bad. They think you didn't communicate with them. Have you ever shown up to a property and said, I have an appointment set? Not even sneaking. I've actually done it where the agent was bad and didn't. I'm just letting them know that. So that's an area I future pace. How about right now, the current market conditions, when you talk about inspection items, right? Are you setting the expectation that they are in such a crazy market that they shouldn't do any inspection items at all? I hope not. I hope that you're not. I hope that you're setting the expectation that they're going to ask for some stuff, and we're going to have a conversation about what we believe is reasonable or not reasonable. Just keep it easy, you guys, so that there's no problem. Appraisals. This is the line I use for appraisals all the time. Hey, look, I've been selling real estate for about 15 years, and it's one of the areas where I have seen no rhyme, no reason. I have seen homes that I thought would have no trouble appraising, not appraised for the value we needed. And I've seen homes that I believed would never appraise, appraise over the value. And so it's totally up to this appraiser and their opinion of the value. And so we have to cross that bridge when we get there. But I'm always setting the expectation for both sellers and buyers that there could potentially be an appraisal issue. And you know what? Some of what you might be thinking right now is, well, wait, doesn't that make them kind of nervous? Doesn't that make them a little, yeah, it does. Does it hang a little bit of a shadow or cloud over the transaction? Yeah, it does a little bit, but it also doesn't make them surprised when you go back and say, there was a low appraisal. And that's what is so important, is your ability to future pace and communicate. Guys, I am just going very surface level on this right now, but these are some of the things that I am finding are creating some really tough situations for buyers, for sellers, and for their agents. I'm seeing buyers that should absolutely be moving forward and trying to close deals, but they're not sure because there wasn't the right expectation set. I'm seeing sellers who have a golden opportunity to close and get so much for their home right now, question whether it's the right thing simply because the right expectations have not been set. And so it becomes one of your critical responsibilities to oversee this transaction, make it smooth, make it easy, and put yourself in a strong position. Think about this. Have you ever allowed your emotion or your opinion of the other side, of either the buyer or seller on the other side, or the agent on the other side of a transaction, have you ever allowed that to influence the way you feel about how the transaction is going? If you're like every other agent I know, the answer is yes, you have. And have you ever accidentally made the mistake of allowing that opinion to be shared with your client? Yeah, if you're like every other agent, including myself, the answer is probably yeah, I've made that mistake. And did it have a negative impact on your ability later to negotiate? You know, have you ever had a moment where you said, ugh, dang, you know what? The people on the other side are actually being pretty reasonable right now, but unfortunately, we've made them look so bad to this point that that client's not going to really believe that. They're going to think they're unreasonable. And, you know, you just think about what that can do. So guys, it's a skill. It's a talent. You must future pace these areas of your transaction to be able to put yourself in a strong position. So guys, again, we've talked today about repeating, affirming, and empathizing. We've talked about future pacing, and then we've talked about what is the current state of your business. I know that's a lot for a Friday morning, but my goodness, these are the areas that I think are so important for you to be focused right now. And if you will, I am absolutely certain you're going to see awesome things happening in your business. So make sure you're communicating a little more effectively moving forward. Make sure you take a hard look at right now, what's the current state of my business, and get ready to just be running into the second quarter of 2021. Even if you have 0 under contract, 0 active buyers, and 0 future appointments, guys, that can all change this morning. I'm telling you right now, people wake up some days with 0 contacts and 0 under contracts and 0 active buyers. And by the end of the day, they're under contract with a cash deal. It happens all the time. Go out there, be a hunter, be a fisher, go find the opportunities that are available to you, and turn your business around. And let's make the second quarter of 2021 an incredible jumping off point for this year and the best quarter of your career. So, all right, guys, thanks for being here today. Let's go ahead and close out with our